All right, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Clover. This is episode 2. Episode 1 is out. It's got it on SoundCloud and on Facebook posted right now. I'm working on banking a couple of these podcasts, and then I'll put them out on the Apple one for those who have Apple. I was able to snag state specialist Jim Sappington. He covers the shooting sports and also 4-H online. So good afternoon, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Stephen?
I'm doing good. We're figuring this whole situation out, the challenges and the changes that we're facing.
It is a brave new world, is it not?
It's completely different. I'll tell you one thing. This podcast is something that I've been sitting on for basically 3 years now. I talked to Brad Anderson about doing it, and he was like, "Well, if you ever find the time, go ahead and try it." And so I sent Sherry Grace an email there on Friday and said, "Hey, we're going to have some downtime." And Debbie Davis, my youth specialist, gave me the green light. And so I thought, why not now?
Exactly. No better time than the present.
Exactly. So you were in 4-H as a kid. How did that all come about?
So my family's been in 4-H for quite some time. Mom and dad, older brother, older sisters were all members. My oldest sister, who's quite a bit older than I was actually leaving her 4-H career before I started mine. And my other sister was 3 or 4 years ahead of me. And so I was attending 4-H meetings long before I was supposed to. Mom was club leader, dad was project leader, older sister became club leader, oldest sister became club leader. I was every office as an officer. We started a new club as a community project. We did a lot of stuff way back then.
So how long would you say years have you put in with 4-H?
I was a member for 11 years, and I've been a volunteer for going on 30 years with a little bit of an absence in between the years as a member and the years as a volunteer.
Okay.
So
okay.
Over 40 years combined.
Now, are you in the 4-H Hall of Fame?
I am not.
How are you not in the 4-H Hall of Fame member?
And I'm not, because now that I work for 4-H, I'm not eligible until I leave employment.
Yeah.
So you cannot be actively employed by 4-H and a member of the Hall of Fame.
Okay, is there a reasoning behind that I don't know? Because that catches me as strange.
I don't know what the reasoning behind that is, but it's just one of the stipulations that volunteers can be voted into the Hall of Fame at any time unless they're an extension or 4-H employee. And then they have to wait until they either retire or move to another position.
Wow. Because, yeah, you'd definitely be up there.
Yeah. There's other people that deserve it too that aren't in there. So I'll wait my turn. If it happens, it happens.
So what projects did you do when you were in 4-H?
Oh man, what ones didn't I do? Actually, horsemanship was a big one. Electricity, woodworking, country hams, outdoorsmanship, because shooting sports is not started back then. Breads, lots of cooking, believe it or not. Trying to think of what else. Photography was a big one. Those were the main ones. Every now and then I throw something odd in.
what was one that the people that know you or are familiar with you that you did and may not have stuck with as long as some of the other ones that you were a favorite that people would be surprised by? Kyle Hansen, when I talked to him, his was rabbits, showing rabbits. He did that for a bit.
Mine would probably be the breads project. I was only in it for a couple of years, but I made a lot of bread. And if you don't know me well, that's one of the things I still do. Actually, I still make a lot of bread occasionally. And then just some of the cooking stuff. People that don't know me don't realize that I really do like to cook. And it all started in 4-H.
Right now, and I talked to Kyle and I'll talk to some other people, life skills and survival skills should be top of the list for people when we get out of this deal to start sharpening up or learning.
Right? Yeah. This is a great place to do it. You never know. I was fortunate enough to learn how to cook from some good volunteers, mom and dad both being key in that. But I learned through 4-H. I learned how to sew. I can sew a button on a shirt if I have to. I'm not going to claim that I'm good at it, but I can do it. I've wired a few houses with my electricity project experience. I've built a few houses with my woodworking experiences. It's just that kind of stuff that we teach that is great.
Absolutely. And I think, well, I hope that coming out of this, parents and kids will take a look at what 4-H has to offer and realize there's a lot of, we've got a lot of assets and teaching and leadership that we can hand to these kids and say, these are going to serve you well in times like this if we ever have to go through this again.
Right. There are so many life lessons, valuable life lessons that we teach on a daily basis that we're starting to realize, or people are starting to realize, that they need to learn some of these things and they don't know where to go to learn them. And it's really not that hard to do. I mean, you don't have to look any further than the local extension office to figure out how to learn these projects and how to learn these skills. We teach them every day.
Absolutely. And I've seen some stuff on Facebook where parents are asking, hey, is it time to bring back, home ec and stuff like that into the schools, because so many people are, relying on everyone else to get by, and I think a lot of our skills we offer would be one place, and I'm not opposed, and I think that more is always better, when it comes to home economics. So if we can add that back into school, plus what we do with 4-H, I think that'd be an added bonus for these kids.
Exactly. We've always got time to do this stuff, and it's never too late to learn a life skill that you can use for the life. I see people hoarding certain products right now, especially with what's going on. You go to the grocery store and they're out of meat, and it's amazing to watch somebody that picks up a package of meat and they're, well, what can you do with this? I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to try to do something with it. And if I go to the grocery store and I pick up a package of chicken, I've got a plan for that package of chicken. I know exactly what I'm going to do with it when I get home, and how to take care of it. So that's why we're here. We need more people, and we can teach them how to do a lot of things.
Here's one, and I wish it wasn't such a slippery slope to get into. I guess it wouldn't be, I shouldn't say slippery slope. Maybe we could do it, but like meat science and how to butcher animals, or just cut up meat that's already been butchered. I think that would be something that could be added to that, because that's something that I learned. I worked for a butcher, or meat cutter, as he'd be preferred to be called. And then we took meat science class in college. And I think that's one thing that would be, beneficial to go with some of the other stuff we did.
We have a meat judging team.
Mm-hmm.
We have a meat judging project, and
Mm-hmm.
Ty Peckman, that's where a lot of his time was spent in his degree, was in the meat lab. You know, he could teach you how to cut that carcass into the proper cuts of meat in no time. And you know, that's something that he's wanting to do. He's wanting to work with youth and teach them that skill, because that's one of those trades that there's always going to be a need for. You know, there's always somebody looking for a custom butcher, or stores looking for meat cutters. Sam's, I know in Columbia here, is hiring. So that's a place. That's a skill. That's you know, and we teach it. We really do teach it.
Yeah, it's essential job right now when a lot of the other people are shut down and working from home. They are in there and they are working. So, you know,
Yeah.
I would recommend that. That's I've spent some time doing that, so I understand that. So you said when you were a kid that you did, was it outdoors? How'd you phrase that?
There's outdoorsmanship, which is basically the shooting sports projects, several of them combined. Hunter and outdoor skills. We did some muzzle loading. We did archery. We did some rifle, shotgun. We also worked on camping, sport fishing. It was everything related to outdoors recreation and living that we learned in this project. It's been broken down, like I say, over the years into several different areas. The camping project, I learned enough about camping that I spend weeks at a time in a tent out in the mountains or down southwest United States, western mountains, on hunts and fishing trips. You know, and it's not anything that concerns me. I've got several tents, pop one up, throw a cot, a sleeping bag in there, and I'm good to go for several days. You know, I learned how to cook. I do Dutch oven cooking. I can feed several people pretty simply. Learned how to pack a cooler, and it's, you know, when you're going camping, you got to know how to preserve your food, or it'll spoil, and then we're in trouble. You can't always guarantee that you're going to catch enough food to sustain yourself. You know, for example, when I go western Colorado out there on a hunt, it's an hour to town. You know, I'm 12 miles off the nearest paved road, and it's 45 minutes to drive that 12 miles. You don't go to town. The nearest thing close to a grocery store is about an hour and a half away from us. So we take everything. You don't just, you know, hop in the vehicle and run to town. So that's all skills that you've learned, that I learned in some of these projects. And it's pretty cool, actually. You know, I've got two sons, both of them are 4-H members and volunteers. And, you know, they go with me, and they don't think anything about it. I've got other people that I see that are, you know, they go out there and they can't fathom that we're, you know, a shower's an hour and a half away. How are you going to handle this? Or, you know, well, I forgot this, I'll just run to Walmart and get it. No, Walmart's 5 hours away. So learning how to be prepared, learning how to take care of yourself, something that everybody could use, especially in times like this where, you know, we're stuck at home. I'm stuck here. We're not supposed to be on campus till the 13th day of April is the way it stands right now. And, you know, I got a freezer stocked, I got food ready to go, and I'm not worried about it. If I go to town, I go to town. If I don't go to town, then I don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah, that's definitely. So when you're up there in the mountains, are you elk hunting then?
Elk and mule deer, yeah. And that's part of, you know, that's one of the things like the Hunter Skills Project that we discussed. It doesn't focus, it's part of shooting sports, but it focuses less on shooting than any other discipline by far. It focuses more on preparation. It's where you actually learn in 4-H in the Western or the Hunter Skills Project how to plan to be gone for 10 days on a hunt and what all is entailed, because you don't just hop in a vehicle, drive 14 hours to Colorado, and you're immediately there. I mean, you've got to do your groundwork. You've got to know where your tags are available, what tags are available, where your legal boundaries are. Colorado has some different rules than Missouri. For example, in Missouri, a public waterway is a public waterway, and you're allowed to do, you can anchor up, you can do whatever you need to in that public waterway. But in Colorado, the public waterways, only the water is public. The bottom of a river belongs to the landowner. So if you anchor in certain areas on that water, you are legally trespassing and can be arrested for it. In Missouri, if we've got enough ground along most waterways, it's public. You pull into the bank and you're fine. That's not the place in Western United States. There's a lot of those places where the landowner owns to the bottom of the river, so you don't stop and get out. It's that kind of stuff. You have to learn. That's where the Hunter and Outdoor Skills Project is huge. I've gone to Colorado. I spent 10 days in the mountains and didn't even see anything to shoot at. But it was still a good hunt in my opinion. But, I only got one. If I get a shot, it's one shot, and that's it. So I have to be prepared in every aspect. The rifle discipline, that's the one where I use to sight my rifle in and get it ready to go, or the archery project to sight my bow and get it ready to go. And then all of the rest of the preparation, all the rest of the information I get through the Hunter and Outdoor Skills Project. So it's a big one.
Yeah, and it sounds like a interesting project. I think I need to, after listening to you and talking about this, that I'll put a little more emphasis when we're talking to the kids about this stuff. I think that'll be something that would be good for them to know. I know I've got some in there, but they're not quite so sure. And I think the project's just so vast that some of the kids haven't really grasped onto the whole concept of it. Because it sounds like, the outdoor skills they had and outdoorsmanship when you were there. Like I had campground cookery back in, this would have been 06 or so. And that's when they were supposed to teach you and learn everything on the Dutch oven. I didn't follow all the way through with it. I tried my best, and that was one thing I wish I would have went back and learned how to do again. But it sounds like they've, moved it to something else. But I was just trying to think of some of the other stuff to do, that we had. So they broke it down, and then they've kind of brought that back in the outdoors hunting and outdoor skills.
Well, and the outdoor cookery is still in the camping project. That's part of it. It's just that there's not as many people in the camping project as there was a few years ago. We've got another discipline in shooting sports that we do Dutch oven cooking, and also the Western Heritage Project is another one where we do a lot of that stuff as well.
And see, I haven't seen one of those in person, but I've talked to enough people to say those are really cool. Is it just the time commitment and is it time commitment and money to get enough people interested in that to make it work? Or what's the big lag for Missouri 4-H with that?
The Western Heritage Project is a very interesting, it's very interesting project. It's not a cheap project because of the equipment necessary. It does, depending on the age, it requires 2 to 5 or 2 to 4 guns. However, we have equipment, there's several counties who've got loaner equipment. We can work with a county that wants to get a program started to get them equipment to borrow so that they can get set up. and help take some of that financial burden away from the counties and the families. And then it is a huge time commitment. I mean, you're studying the project focuses on the time period of the 1860s to the 1900s, which, a 40-year span doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think about the history of the United States, there was a lot happening in that 40 years. Western expansion was huge, and that's what we focus on. 1860, the Civil War was starting, and it's part of the time period, but we don't focus on it. We're focused more about the Western expansion, the states to the west becoming parts of the Union, because that's when most of those happened, is in that time frame. From the Mississippi River to the Pacific coast, you had the gold rush. You had so much going on out there. The Buffalo Soldiers started. The territorial prisons were big. A lot of famous people came out of that time period in that era, in that area, and we studied all of that. Another thing that we do with the project is you address period correctly as much as possible. You take on a persona. It's a living history project as well. So you take on this persona of someone that could have or did live in that time frame, and that's all part of it. Is you get to spend a day, a weekend, a week living like you would have in the 1860s and 1900s, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's time consuming. The costumes are required, but you can get into a pretty basic costume pretty cheap. Some of the clothing and some of the clothing manufacturers are still in business today that started back then. Levi Strauss, for example, started in the 1840s, started building jeans for miners out of canvas, something that would hold up. They didn't switch to denim until later in the period. But to get a pair of period correct jeans, which are required for the project, you can go to wherever and buy a pair of Levi's 501 jeans. You take those jeans home, you take the belt loops off of them, because they didn't have belts in this time frame. As far as we know, belts to hold up a pair of pants, they use suspenders. So you buy your jeans, you take the belt loops off of them, you put suspender buttons on them, and then you cut. For some reason, they didn't have a left rear pocket. No pants during the time period had a left rear pocket. So you take the left rear pocket off of them, belt loops, put suspender buttons on, and you have a pair of jeans that could have been made in 1880. Exactly. I mean, it's down to the lettering, and the stitching is the same as it was back then. So that's pretty easy to find. We realize that not everybody can afford to go out and buy a big fancy outfit. So we have a very minimum dress that is required. It's blue jeans, a button-up shirt, long sleeve preferably, a head cover, period correct as much as possible, and a pair of boots. No camo is allowed in the project because they didn't have camo in the 1800s.
Right.
Zippers, they didn't have zippers. They had elastic, but not zippers. And that's a common, we ask the kids a lot, did they have plastic or have elastic in the 1860s? Yes, they did. They had elastic, but they didn't have the zipper. It wasn't invented until after 1900. So when you're building your project, building your persona, you get judged on your clothing at a contest. So you may not have a period correct outfit, but you're going to get judged on your knowledge of a period correct outfit. If you walk in with a pair of jeans that have a zipper in them and say, my jeans aren't period correct because, and you can explain why, then you will still get points for it. You may not get full points, but you'll get points. My hat isn't correct because it's not this style with this. You can get points. You may not, again, get full points. The ladies are the ones that have got it tough, because to get a period correct ladies dress is not always cheap. However, there are some cheap ways to do it. We have a young lady from Montana that she goes and buys old wedding gowns or old prom dresses that are stitched appropriately. And she buys them from thrift stores or garage sales or wherever she can find them. And then she turns those into her costumes. And she's done that for a very long time. And, if it's a white wedding dress, she'll dye it whatever color she wants it to be. And it suddenly becomes a Western heritage outfit. And she's got some really good ones. So it's something that it can be that simple. I think she said the most she'll spend is like $20 on a dress to get her Western heritage outfit for the year. That's pretty cheap.
That's really cheap.
Yeah. And then we'll have an extra area of study every year. We'll focus on a specific area. This year it is ladies. So there are several famous ladies, not just Calamity Jane, those kinds, but there are several other famous ladies from that era, and we're going to study some of those. We have studied the Buffalo Soldiers. We've studied the lawmen. We've studied outlaws. We've studied railroads, riverboats.
So when you study
all
outlaws,
kinds of stuff, or cattle trade. Mm-hmm.
Just a quick question. Sorry to interrupt. When you study outlaws, does now I can't remember his name. Oh, Jesse James, is he one of them?
He is one of them, and he was, because he fits the era, and he was right there. Plus he's a Missourian.
So I got an interesting story about him.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. I got a little bit of delay here.
Oh.
So my great grandmother, and I can take you to the barn where it's at. It's about 10 miles from where I'm at in Union Star. Jesse James used to come by, and she'd have horses in her barn, and he would swap out horses. And if he was taking a better horse, he was getting fresh horses. Now, if he took a better horse, he'd leave money that he thought would be equal in value. So sometimes it was $20, sometimes it was $5 or whatever it was for the time. But and he'd just leave a note, took your horse, blah blah, JJ, and that's how he left it.
Yeah, there's a lot of those stories around. We have one of our instructors in Western Heritage that has a revolver believed to be from the James family, and they don't know for sure which member of the James family, but it is a period correct timepiece or firearm that is very seriously believed to be one of the James family's revolvers. Now, we don't use that one other than to show, but that's one of the things that we're learning about this kind of stuff. We had a youth member, it was a couple years ago, that we were studying the Buffalo Soldier. I keep bringing these guys up. So we were in Montana, and a young man was we were sitting through the keynote speaker, and the keynote speaker made his career studying the Buffalo Soldiers and had done so for many years. He was a history professor at University of Montana, or Montana State University. And he asked a question, and the young man in the audience stood up to answer the question and proceeded to almost slide for slide give this retired history professor's presentation. And this was a gentleman that wasn't real sure about even attending when he was asked to attend the event. He was a little hesitant about it, but he ended up on his own tab spending the rest of the week there watching the youth members and watching these kids participate because, like I say, this young man stood up and answered not only the question that he had asked, but proceeded to to educate the rest of the group just about word for what this gentleman was going to say. So pretty cool stuff, and you learn an unbelievable amount in it. I wish we could get more kids involved.
How many people are, is it team-based? I can't remember on that.
On Western Heritage, no, it's individual based. When they compete in what we call posses, and we assign those based on several different factors. But it's individual based. The cool thing about the Western Heritage Project is there is a national contest this year, provided everything works the way it's supposed to. It's going to be hosted in Missouri. This will be the third time it's been here. It travels around. It's usually 2 years in the state, and then it moves to somewhere else. So next year, 2021, it'll be in Kansas for 2 years, and then it'll be somewhere else for a couple of years. But in order to participate at the national level in Western Heritage, you have to participate at the local level. And that's it. That's the only requirement. All members enrolled in the project throughout the nation are welcome at the national contest until such time as it gets too big to be feasible, and then we'll put some guidelines in place to limit it. But that's not going to happen for a while. It's in 9 states now and currently growing. So you will meet kids from all over, and you get the chance, if you go to the national contest enough. We've been Montana, it's been California, it's been Missouri so far, but now that other states are getting involved, it's going to start going to other states where we get to learn other histories of other locations.
How many kids do we have that participate in Missouri?
Between 80 and 100. It depends. It fluctuates every year, but it's been holding pretty steady between 80 and 100 for the last 3 or 4 years. We've got instructors. We could handle a lot more than that. Predominantly northwest and western portion of the state. It doesn't get, there's not too much to the east of Columbia. There's 1 county or 2 counties in the eastern part of the state that have it, and then there's nobody in the southeast right now that has it. But we are wanting to expand it. We'll be having a workshop of trainings on it this fall, hopefully. We were planning one in April, but it's been canceled due to all of the restrictions in place. And not just by us, but camps are limiting access also, as we're finding out. So as soon as it's available, we're going to announce it and take some registrations, and hopefully we can get it into some new areas.
I didn't realize there was that many kids. That actually caught me off guard. 80 to 100, I would have thought maybe 30, if I'm guessing. So I guess I need to get together with shooting sports coordinators and find some volunteers and people with time to go and get certified from that and bring it back and see if we can get it in our 3 counties here. Because it sounds to me to be really, really interesting. But I'm also a history buff, so.
Right, me too.
Yeah, that just 80 to 100 kids. I'm still surprised about that. And you said the Southeast really doesn't have a lot. That surprised me. I didn't realize that it was there was many this way. I figured it was all more of the southern counties in Missouri.
No, it's actually the folks that helped get it started are most of the project leaders that got it started are in the Northwest region. So we didn't have too much in the region, in the West Central or Northeast region, until after it'd been going a couple of years up Northwest. Saline County, Macon County, one other county, I can't remember, up by where you're at, actually. I just can't remember what county it is up there that has, they were the initial ones. And it's relatively new. It's only, a few years old, so it's still growing.
I'll have to look into that more. And I've had club leaders come and say that they've seen enough of it and would like to do it. Just trying to find their time, or the time for them where they can go get through the trainings and certified and stuff like that. And they'd be interested in doing that. So, I mean, hopefully after they listen to this, they'll get their interest back up and other people going for it.
Yeah. And then everybody is welcome to come and watch the contest. So the national contest is going to be in Macon, is the plan right now. It's going to be the first week in August. Let me pull my calendar up here and give you the exact dates. It's planned to be the 4th, 5th, and 6th of August. In Macon will be the contest. We'll shoot at least 2 of those days. One day will be fairly well dedicated to clothing, judging, and the written history test that everybody has to take, which is another part of the project that, believe it or not, kids are willing to do. I know when I was in high school, I hated to take tests, but we never have anybody really complain about a written history test when it comes to the Western Heritage Project. Part of that test is the gun identification. You have to be able to identify firearms. Some of them are period correct. Some of them are originals from the period. A lot of the ones we use are replicas because they're easier to get a hold of, and to be honest, are cheaper than some of the originals. But that's part of the test. And then they spend a month or 2 months or 3 months studying this special area of interest. And part of the overall is your score on the test. We have a contest. We have what's called a top hand in each division. And you're judged on clothing, your history test, and your shooting all goes together to figure into the top hand award. And we have been fortunate. The national top hand center fire member for several years has been from Missouri, and it's been a various different ones. But we also have for 2 years in a row, or it may have been 3, we had the national top hand senior rimfire was actually a young lady, Kelsey Goff, who just flat out shot everybody. And it took us 3 years to stump her on a firearms test. We had to really dig deep to find a firearm that she couldn't identify. So just goes to show that the young ladies can compete and can do just as well as the young men.
That's awesome and really impressive, especially if you were struggling, because Kyle Hansen, that was one thing he bragged about. Because I asked him, I said, "No, didn't you work with Jim Sappington in the state office?" And he said your gun knowledge and the history of some of the guns and all that stuff, he said, was really impressive. He said that was one of the things he learned a lot from.
We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of discussions in the office when he was working with me. I would quiz him every once in a while. I'd throw something on the table, and I'm fortunate is I'm one of the few people at the university that is able to not only purchase but possess firearms on campus, because there is a campus law or campus rule that says there's no firearms allowed. But if I wasn't able to possess firearms on campus, it'd be kind of hard for me to do my job. So they allow me to do it. And if we had some slow time there at the office, the safe, Kyle and I'd open the safe up and we'd have a firearms history test. It was a lot of fun.
Sounds like a good time. Which brings me to my next question. Shooting sports and what we're going to do with this downtime. I saw that you sent out an email with kind of a rough plan. I did not send that out because I didn't know if that was ready to go out to the kids, because I didn't know if that was official, what you're wanting to say to them, or if that was just ideas on that. So yeah. I haven't.
So we sent that out. It should have been out in the EYC that went out Friday to all the families, the Electronic Youth Connection newsletter. This year we're a lot of strange things, a lot of different things going on. With the moratorium, that there's no face-to-face meetings, including project meetings. It's really going to be hard for some areas to meet the minimum 10-hour requirement for shooting sports projects. So we're really studying this, and we're gonna lean on local leaders and county specialists, county YPAs pretty hard in keeping a track of what the youth are doing once we're allowed to start meeting. So basically what it's going to come down to is, if a youth was in shotgun last year and they met all the requirements for the state contest, no questions asked, as long as they are participating as much as possible this year, then the 10-hour minimum is not going to be strictly enforced. That is something that, and there'll be some paperwork comes out in the near future on this, that project leader says, so-and-so Susie has enough hours or is competent and has met all the requirements previously to participate, and I have all confidence in her that she can do this again. That's something that we're going to have to, like I say, lean on the leadership, local leadership, a lot more for. For the first year members, we're willing to take the leader's word. We know that it's a big thing, that they are competent in their discipline, but we're still wanting to try to get 10 hours with them if at all possible. Where this is a problem is we have counties that have yet to have their 740 training, their 740 safety classes. And it's not just one or two counties. There's 4 or 5 counties in the state that have been unable to get this in. They were scheduled for this week or this coming week, or some of them as late as mid-April, and now they're not going to be able to do these. So we're working on an online version where we can have an online version of the 740 class, and we can track it through 4-H Online. It will be something that will be in 4-H Online, so that we'll know who's in it and who's completed it, to fill the gap this year. There would still be a requirement that they would be required to attend a face-to-face 740 training next year. But we want to be able to get these new members, we want to be able to get them out there and get them participating as much as possible. One thing on the video, on the online version of the training, is we have shooting sports ambassadors. We have a group of youth throughout the state that have applied to be an ambassador. They're doing great work. They've done a lot of great things. And I had a Zoom call with them last week, and they are recording videos and they are sending me videos. They're helping build this online safety course. That's one of the ways I'm keeping them involved. So I expect really good things from them. They're excited about it. I'm excited to get their input. And to be honest, youth learn better from youth than they do from adults most of the time. So that's where we're at. Like I say, this is an odd year, and these are one of restriction lifts. They're going to be back in place. Everything's going to be back to normal when we get back to normal after the next year.
And that sounds like good stuff to help us get by on this year. And you're talking about it, lifting some of the restrictions and stuff like that, even with what you've got in place, and it, lessening some of that stuff. When I came through and did shooting sports in 2005 to 2007 or 8, it seemed like the Wild West compared to where we're at now and doing stuff. So, even the amount of safety and instruction that we still have is pretty impressive.
Well, shooting sports instructors, that's one of the things the local leaders, they have to go through the training. They have to be trained. It's one of the guidelines that the national committee, the national council has put on this project group is that, they have to have this safety training. They have to be approved. And the national council, the National Shooting Sports Committee always says that the most certified volunteer in 4-H is a shooting sports volunteer, because they're the only ones that have required training every year. We do workshops all over the state, have in the past, where we had to cancel our spring workshop this year. We're trying to reschedule it just because of everything that's going on. And then we will do our fall workshop as normal, provided we're allowed to. And it's probably, we'll have to catch up. It's never easy to play catch up on anything, but it's something that we're trying to do. We're going to have to move our spring workshop to a later date in another location if we're able to have it. But right now the camp is full where we were going to have it, and unavailable until November, and we just can't do a workshop in November because I don't know about everybody else, but most of the instructors will be deer hunting.
Yes. Have you seen the videos that have been put out by University of Nebraska Extension and stuff like that? Because I saw some come across my Facebook feed, but before I shared anything like that, I wanted to get your input on that. I didn't know if you'd seen those, or because they've had some safety stuff and just kind of.
Yeah, I've seen some of those, and actually I know some of the folks that are making those. I work closely with some folks from Nebraska. I've got really good friends in the shooting sports world out there, and we just had what we call a coordinator's coffee, which is open to any coordinator. Shooting sports coordinator in the U.S. is welcome to join these. There are Zoom meetings. They've started up once a month, and information on them usually comes out on the Nebraska website or through the shooting sports website, which is getting ready to be revamped again. But they're pretty informational Zoom meetings. They last an hour. They're led by Tammy Stewart from the University of Nebraska, and she is one that has helped make some of those videos Nebraska's sharing. So it's good information and good people to get to deal with. If anybody that has been to or is going to the National Shooting Sports Championship in Grand Island, Nebraska, Tammy is the volunteer coordinator for the event. So she spends a lot of time with shooting sports, where her husband Scott is on the national committee. He's also one of the national instructors with me on the archery world. So we spend a lot of time. Scott and I actually spend a lot of time on phone calls and meetings together. So
Okay, I might share some of those then, because when it gets to be other people's stuff, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but if it's more specific to what they have in their guidelines, I don't like sharing it, to Missouri, and it'd be completely different.
Right. Yeah, most of the information is the same from state to state. There are some different age groups, different guidelines. We're a little more restrictive in Missouri on certain things than other states. And it's just because of restrictions the university places upon the program. You'll hear folks from other states, oh, we're shooting, our 9-year-olds are shooting revolvers. Well, that's not going to happen in Missouri. Our university will not allow that to happen. Our legal department will not allow that to happen. But we're less restrictive in other areas than some states. We have states that do not allow pistol, that do not allow rifle, where we start, 22 rifle at 8 years old, and then we do allow small bore pistol. but not until they're senior age youth. And there's other states that have things that we don't have in their shooting sports program that we probably never will have. Everything that's in shooting sports has to be approved by committee. If it's going to be an approved event, it has to go through the national committee and be approved by them, which is part of the National 4-H Council. So it's very regulated and restricted as far as bringing new projects and that kind of thing in.
Okay, that's good to know. That's I just some of that stuff. Rather get your blessing before I share it or pass it on than just jump right into something and then get an email later. Hey, that's probably not good information to share. So I want to be.
When in doubt, my email rings all the time. I'll answer email as fast as I can. My phone, I answer it as fast as I can. So when in doubt, give me a shout. I'll answer you and keep everything rolling.
My favorite one was, I don't know, I can't remember if I talked to you or it was your email signature. You're like, I'm in West Virginia. I don't know if I'll get internet ever while I'm here or something like that. It might have been limited access, but I took it as, it'll be spotty at best.
Yeah, that happens.
So I lost my train of thought. What's something that, oh, no, I know what I was going to ask you. Change direction. So you coming out of 4-H, where'd you go to college?
I went to college at the Wright Institute of Technology in Kansas City.
Really?
Yep.
For computers?
Yes. For just over 30 years, I was an IT person. I was a technical support for the university. Did a lot of hardware service work, but did a lot of customer support for the IT world at the university. I worked for what at the time I started was campus computing, which is now the division of IT, for 10 years. And then I worked as one of the crew of technical support for the College of Arts and Sciences for just over 20 years. So we did desktop support of all of the applications, all the hardware for all of the faculty and staff of the College of Arts and Science, plus all the computer labs on campus that were supported by the Arts and Science dean, which ended up being somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 desktop machines.
Oh, wow. Now, was this the days of dial-up, or were you past dial-up when you started?
Dial-up didn't even exist yet when I started. Believe it or the internet had not been invented yet when I actually started there. So we were doing my first support calls when I first started working on machines at the university were a lot of Apple IIs and IBM PCs. When the modems actually started rolling in, it was pretty wild. I was actually, for a while, when I was working for the networking group, I was actually in charge of the dial-up modem pool at the university. So that was back in the early 90s, mid 90s. So yeah, I've spent a lot of time with some of that old equipment.
Man, dial-up was terrible. There's gonna be some kids listening to this who, what's dial-up? I don't understand what that is. But yeah, man, that was bad.
Yeah,
that's how you got.
Yeah.
That's how you built your patience, is working with dial-up. That explains everything right there.
Right? Yeah. So internet today, people don't know how lucky they are anymore. We're talking about. I just had to get a service bump to work from home for internet. You get into 25 to 30 megabits per second. When I started working in IT world, if you had what we call 110 baud modems, 110 bits per second, and that was fast, and then we went up to 2,400 bits per second, and we were screaming. We didn't know what to do. Most people today would go absolutely bonkers trying to deal with those speeds, because you definitely could not do what we're doing right now with a 2,400 baud connection.
No, you couldn't. And who was I talking to? It might be one of our 4-H. She's on the fair board in Clinton County, and she has an AOL email address.
Right.
And she's younger than I am. That's the surprising part. I was like, wait, AOL is still around? Like they're still hosting where you can use their email? But yeah, that's where it was.
The domain is still hosting. AOL's gone, but the domain is still there. The domain is still hosting. Actually, quite a bit of it. I actually run into a lot of AOL email accounts.
Really, that's surprising.
Yeah.
I'll get a few oddball Yahoo emails. That's the website, not Yahoo's. The people. I mean, they seem to be good people.
Right.
Yeah, that's the AOL threw me off, but to know there's still quite a few out there that you come across. That's impressive.
More than you think, actually. It's pretty wild.
All right, so you take care of the 4-H online, you and Patty Hudnut, which that's one lady I want to get on here because I think that would be fun, because there's been times when no one else is in the state office and she's the only one that answers the phone when there's a lot of transition going on. And so, she
Right.
does about everything. So you guys take care of 4-H online, and we're moving to the 2.0 version, correct?
Correct. Matter of fact, I just got word today that our training site for 4-H Online 2.0 will be opening up May 31. We will have access to our training area. So Patty and I will start building training sessions. It will probably be about the 1st of May before we start letting the county folks into that training area. So that gives Patty and I a couple of months or a month to prepare and be able to answer at least the simple questions. There's some cool stuff coming in 2.0. The look of it is going to be a lot different. It's going to take people about an hour to get used to the new look. It's not going to be long because it's a lot cleaner. It's faster. Hopefully, it will be a lot more user-friendly. So far, early access that I've had looks promising for that. But another promising thing is it is mobile-friendly. It is designed to be able to be used on mobile phones. The old version was not. What people don't realize about the current version is it's 15 old and it's running on 15-year-old technology and 15-year-old thought processes. And there's not a whole lot we can do with it. The new version is brand new from the ground up. The back end, the whole engine that drives everything is brand new and totally different than the current version, which is a good thing. Unfortunately, it means that it puts more work on us as far as getting data back in, because everything that we have to import, then we have to verify. But hopefully we get some things that we've asked for in the new version that will make it easier on the families. It's more family-based than individual-based. I think, like I said, I think families are going to enjoy it. I think it's going to be a whole lot better.
Well, with our registrations of a lot of our events and going through camp and energizers and stuff like that, I think that obviously that'll be beneficial to them, and maybe I saved camp like it didn't fill up in 2 days basically for this year, but Energizer at time kind of lagged behind, which and 4-H people, I love them to death, parents and kids and all that stuff. You give them too long of a deadline and they just drag their feet, and then it's at the deadline and then a couple days after, hey, can I get in? And then you don't want to tell them no because you feel bad because
Right.
it's a kid. But hopefully we can get them in there, get them registered, and get more familiar with that, and adding projects and stuff like that they'll be able to do on their own.
And we've had to do some things this year in the current version. I mean, I have answered untold numbers of questions of why I can't add projects and why this is going on. There's several different reasons. The biggest one is we're trying to keep records as clean as we can, so that when we start importing data, we're not trying to import a record that's got 80 projects tied to it that are currently in progress. It thinks. One of the big issues we were running into is members would sign up for a project. They were in that project for a year or so, and then they would move on to the next project. Well, they weren't taking those old projects off of their record. They were staying there, and we had members that actually had 80 projects listed in their project list. And while there's some kids out there and some volunteers that are quite capable of doing a lot of projects, I think 80 might have been pushing the number that we can successfully complete in a year pretty hard. I mean, we do have a limit. We've had a limit on the number of projects for many, many years. You look in the Clover, the recommended limit is 6 projects per member. The limit that 4-H Online put on it was 15 without approval. So, we're not. It's not that we're imposing new limits. It's just that we're enforcing them a little harder this year. When the new version comes out, we're going to reduce those restrictions again, or relax that, where people will be able to go in and edit their record after it's been submitted, so that they can go in and add that extra project throughout the year up until the limit is reached, and then they have to get approval to do it again. So, I mean, I know that made a lot of people upset, and I understand that it made a lot of people upset, but it was something I had to do, and I had to make the call to limit that. And then word either didn't get out apparently, or people just don't read newsletters, which I think is a little bit of both. But no, that's going to change. One of the changes that we're asking for, it causes a lot of problems, and families don't realize what's going on here because we get a lot of phone calls about it, is credit card declines. When people have credit cards and they pay for 3 members with a credit card, and a specialist or a YPA goes through and they're approving members, and they're approving them rapidly, which happens. If a charge comes into your credit card, too many charges from the same place within so many seconds, then the credit card companies, a lot of them, or the banks, start looking at fraudulent charges. And usually the first one will go through. The second one may or may not go through. The third one almost never goes through. And you'll get a decline, and people are like, well, why did my credit card get declined? I know it's right. I know it's a good card. I know this, and it's not their fault. It's the fault of the system. So one thing we've asked for in the new version that we hope to get implemented is a shopping cart, where if you have multiple members registering at the same time, you can pay for all of them on one payment and avoid that situation. Other things that we're looking for are discounts that are available, multifamily discount, that kind of stuff. That's all going to be supposedly available and a lot easier for us to do. There'll still be county county by county limits set for their dues, that kind of thing. There'll still be state dues set, but it will be a lot easier on my end in setting those up.
Yeah, those will be huge, especially the credit card one. That was one of those that I'm pretty particular. I think at times it annoys people because I prefer accuracy and precision over speed. And some people say they can do it, but usually I come ahead on those. And that's why I read every page of the 4-H online profile before I approve them. And it's not bragging. It's just I want to make sure I don't miss something, because then it's my
Right.
name that I'm signing off on when I approve them. And so that's, I've seen people just sit through and go to the final review button and click and click and click, and then, send it back. And then you've got parents calling, well, why was this declined? And so, but that's one thing that I think will help out for those who aren't slow in particular like I am when we go through the details on that, because I want to make sure I get all the health forms. And if there's going to be kids that have something that's going to jump out to me that I'm going to remember, I think we've got 300 some kids in the 3 counties, combined, that, this is just going to be aware of and be in the back of your head. So when you see that kid, hey, this is what we're going to have, potential issues or things to be aware of. So
Right.
I think having that ability for the payments going to help out and be huge for that. And the project thing is another one that my club leaders and parents are getting better about using 4-H online. And now that they can't add projects and stuff like that, they kind of give me this, and it's a tone that's like, you wanted me to learn how to do this and do this for myself. Now I can't do it. So, and I just explained why we're doing it. Oh, we're getting a new system and it's going to be better. Yes. Okay. I understand that then.
So another new thing that's coming with the new version, RegMax, the company that owns 4-H Online, has another project or another program on the market called Record Book. And it's an application you can go out, you can download. It's free this year. The club management portion of Record Book will be incorporated in the new version of 4-H Online. So club records, attendance records, that kind of information will be able to be tracked through the new version of 4-H Online. So these club leaders that want access to that information and have asked for it for several years, it's coming down the pipe, and it's coming in October, the way it stands right now. And that's big. It's going to be nice, but it's one of those things that it's going to take a lot of learning on, because it's not as intuitive as it could be at this time.
Yeah, there's going to be some drawbacks to stuff, and hopefully we'll figure it out, or I'll master it and be able to help them. That's been one of the things, is just picking up 4-H Online to the point now that when someone calls, I'm just troubleshooting without ever seeing what they're looking at. I either don't have a screen pulled up, or I'm just, looking at my stuff, which I can't see the same thing on. So hopefully I'll get that figured out and be able to help.
Yeah, the logic's going to be very similar. What we're seeing, it's just, like I say, it's based more around the family than it is the individual member. The current version is based more around the member than the family. So that switch over is going to be a little bit different for people to grasp.
Now, will they still have reports and stuff like that in there for us to run and use?
Yes, and custom reports will be available. We are looking at, and we don't know for sure because we haven't seen the full version yet, but club leaders are hopefully have a little more power. They won't have the power to accept members. They won't have power to control members. But hopefully they'll be able to go in and they'll be able to create basic reports. hopefully they will be able to see members that maybe the club leader needs to go talk to. Right now, all they can see is their active members. But if we can get it where they can see and get information on a pending member or an incomplete member, where maybe that club leader knows the family and they can go say, hey, you know, what's going on? Why aren't you finished? We seem to lose a lot of folks that way. You know, they get stuck in that pending or incomplete phase, and nobody really knows what's going on, and they get dropped through the cracks. And that's been an ongoing issue for many years, where hopefully we can change that. With this new version, if we can give club leaders a little more leeway, we have to be careful how much power we give a club leader, because we don't want them to be able to approve members that haven't paid yet, because that happens. It would happen, and it's not that, you know, we don't want the club leader to be able to work. It's that we don't want the club leader to be financially responsible for a family that may or may not stick around. We want that to fall back to the county office, where if the county office approves a member, they have payment in hand. And it's just a training thing. You know, so that kind of stuff is coming. Project leaders, hopefully we'll have a little bit more information. I don't know. We haven't seen the project leader side of anything yet. But with the club management, project kind of falls in that same area. And then, you know, there's some exciting stuff coming on the admin side for me that will save me a whole lot of work, that I'm really excited about, that we don't need to go into details because they don't affect anybody but me, really. And Patty's pretty excited about that stuff. So one of the things that's coming is, you know, right now we shut down the 31st day of August and we don't open back up until the first day of October. The new version allows us to start preparing for the next year almost as soon as the current year kicks off. So we can start laying out, when we get this, it'll be the 2021 year. We can start laying out the 21-22 year and have it ready to go. And we tell it, okay, you know, September 30th this year ends, October 1st this year begins, and we don't have to be down for 30 days. We can be down, hopefully we're looking at maybe on the outside 15 days. And then, you know, maybe even we're not down that long. So that's going to be a big help, and that will help our families as well, as we're preparing. And you can enroll, from what I understand, and I haven't seen this part of it yet, but you can enroll a year in advance. So I can enroll in August for the next year. And that way, when I'm accepted, it's for the next year coming down. And that one, I still haven't, like I say, haven't seen that yet, but that has been in the planning all along, is that we can prepare for months ahead of the new year coming down the road, and cause that rollover shutdown to be a lot less.
That'd be wonderful. You know, last year when you guys shut it down, I still had access all the way up until the last day, and I was still running reports and stuff like that. In the past, I hadn't been able to do that.
Yeah. So we allow that because we knew what was coming. Families were shut down the 1st of September. The 31st day of August is when the families were actually shut down. But we knew that the counties needed to be able to get in there and get access, and with some changes that were coming behind the scenes that nobody really knew about, other than Patty and I and Lapita. We just didn't shut the county access off. And that will not be the case this year. Everyone will be locked out for a month this year, as we do that full switchover, because the switchover starts September 4, and that gives us, 26 days to get everything up and running before it goes back live. So everybody will be kicked out. And then from hopefully after that is we'll be able to just keep the county admins access throughout the year. They don't have to be shut off. And the families just need to be shut off for a short period of time as we make the actual switch over.
That's awesome. So now, what is this year 2 or 3 for you at the with 4-H online and shooting sports? Because I know you filled in for a short amount of time with shooting sports, and then you took over.
So October will be 3.
3 years.
Yeah. So it's I'm working on the 2.5 year time frame right now as a full-time employee. May 1st of 17 is when I came over as a temporary under the unfortunate conditions that I had to do that with. And then I was actually hired full-time October 2nd of 17. So that period of May to October was a little rough when I was working 2 40-hour jobs simultaneously.
Yeah, I bet it was. I bet it was. So was that just a pretty much a you were an instructor prior to taking over, right?
I was a volunteer and had been a shooting sports volunteer since 05. And then I'm one of the I was on the state committee. I was one of the state shooting sports instructors for a couple different disciplines for archery and Western Heritage. And now I was also, at the time, I was a national instructor for archery. So I teach at the national 4-H workshops. So now I'm a national instructor for Western Heritage and archery. And I've added the coordinator project to my state trainings. So all of the new and upcoming coordinators get to listen to me for a day and a half when we have those workshops.
So was it a no-brainer when they were able to get both of this, where they did the 4-H online and shooting sports for you?
It's kind of an oddball, excuse me, kind of an oddball job combination. But my IT background, they were able to work the 4-H online right through my IT background because I was a system admin before. So that was pretty easy. And then being the volunteer, knowing the shooting sports program to the depth that I did, serving on the state committee, serving with the state office on a lot of projects through there. Allison was the interim director at the time. Was able to bring it right in, and it took some work to get the job position created. But once she did, then it was pretty much a no-brainer. I don't think there was too many other people in the state that had the qualifications put forth in that job description that, you had to have so much IT experience and so much shooting sports experience combined to fill this position. So it was a one-of position, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So had you worked with 4-H online before you came in for this position?
Only as a parent. And I had the same feelings that all the other parents out there have about it.
So you had those same, see, we had a lady who worked at, I don't remember if you remember Joyce Better. She was in our office for a couple of years, my first 2 years. And she had an IT background, and of course, she's a bit older than you. I say a bit to be nice to her. Bit older than you, and that's what she did her whole life was IT stuff. And she would get on there and play with it, but she'd just rather me do it because I was younger and quicker to adapting it to it. And she was like, this is the most unuser friendly and bad way about going about things. So she wouldn't even mess with it. So it seemed like the IT people were just like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. The the biggest thing about 4-H Online, and the new version is going to be somewhat the same, is stop and think a little bit before you act. The logic, and you have to understand programmers' logic. The logic behind the application is not terribly hard to understand, but you have to think about it in the terminology. So, you know, I had to learn all the new terminology that goes along with 4-H Online. You know, member profile versus family profile. What's the difference between the two? You know, enrollment versus a registration, because they're different in the system, the way they work. You know, you had to learn all of that. But once you stop and think about, especially writing a report or building an event, stop and think about what you want and what you need, it becomes a lot easier knowing. And then if you know where that stuff's coming from, if you're building a report, you know, what do you need from the profile? What do you need from the additional information page, which are the authorizations? What do you need from the health record, which is the health form? You know, what do you need from the participation, which is club, project, group, or awards is in participation area. So you gotta kind of think about that. And for me, the background that I had, it really wasn't that bad. You know, if you remember Shannon White, she was there. She was a 4-H online person before I was, and you know, she sat down with me for about 2 weeks, and we would get together about 4:30 in the afternoon, work till about midnight, with me learning 4-H online, and within a couple of weeks, we had basically made the switch over. I was working 4-H online almost exclusively from the month of about August through the 1st of November when she left. She had almost transitioned completely off of 4-H online support, and I was doing most of it in the evenings. She was handling it during the day, but behind the scenes, I was doing all the registrations, all the invoice adjustments, all of the stuff that is a day-to-day thing for me now, after hours, after everybody else had gone home.
Did she have an IT background?
She did not have that big of an IT background. She had some, but when I don't know how she ended up being the 4-H online support person entirely. That was before my time, but I think she was the one that was willing to work with it the most, and she did have a little bit of IT knowledge, so she got the nod and the headache.
Now, when you worked with her, did you work in her office? Because I was there for my 4-H 101 training, and we toured, you know, the offices, and they're like, this is where Shannon works, and she's in there like the blinds are closed, like the doors closed. There's no source of light except for coming from her 2 monitors, and just papers and desk,
Right.
you know, just covered and stuff. And I was like, yep, that's an IT person. Makes sense to me.
No, actually, I was at the other end of the hall. I was in the office I'm in now when I was there. But like I say, up until that first few months, from 7:30 to 4, I had a different job. I was over my IT job all day, every day, and then I would come over to the 4-H center about 4:30. I'd get there, and Shannon and I would meet, and she would give me a list of things to do, and she may or may not stick around. She did stick around a lot of hours, but sometimes she would go home and leave me with it. And we did a lot of Skype calls, and sometimes we would do Skype calls down the hallway, which was quite interesting. But it was pretty nice because we could look down the hall at each other. If we had a problem, we could look each other in the eye. I know Shannon, one time she wasn't feeling well. She was sick, and she was quarantining herself in her office so she could get work done. and I was in the office trying to do some stuff. So we would look at each other down the hallway through the windows while we were on a Skype call so that we could work together. But yeah, it was quite interesting.
Yeah, she was always fun. That was just, I was just like, oh, you walk in the room. I mean, doors closed, blinds closed, no light just coming from the monitors and just piles of stuff. And she knew where everything was at too. That's how I operate, just not the darkness and not as many papers, and that's what, Debbie Davis will get on to me and be like, hey, Stephen, your desk is getting a little out of hand. And I'll be like, well, I've been to the state office. I've seen, Shannon's desk. I'm not to Shannon's level, so I'm doing well.
Right. Well, we don't get to keep sloppy offices anymore. We got to keep them pretty clean. Lupita's a little different than she wants. She wants all the offices to be presentable as much as possible without boxes and papers and stuff scattered around. So we're all trying to work a little better. Clean.
I wouldn't make it. Nope, couldn't do it. I have to have chaos.
Oh no.
That's what Kyle Hansen said. I said, so how is Jim? What's his office like? He's like, no, he's structured and organized. And I said, oh well, yeah, that's definitely not me.
Well, it's a good front.
See, that's what I like about this.
I'm not always as structured.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
What I was gonna say is what I like about this background right here, the beautiful clover over my shoulder, is it's covering up the chaos behind me.
Yeah. Well, and I don't have my camera on, but since I'm working at home, the office is a lot smaller, and like I say, there's 3 of us working from this house that have all been forced to work remotely. So I have to close the door to this room because the grandchildren are here also because they don't have school. So it's quite entertaining. I'm being serenaded through the door, but y'all can't hear it.
I've got 2 nieces here, and they are running wild. The best post I saw was day 4 of quarantine. I saw parents scraping off the terrific kid. It's their terrific kid at whatever school, or terrific kid at whatever school they're at, the sticker off their minivan.
Right.
So yeah, it's. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was done.
Yeah, it's a different world, and that's what, when I came up with this, I was like, let's get some normalcy going. Let's get something different. The kids want to talk and still be connected in some sort of way. Podcasting is one that I've latched onto, and some of the others that I asked have as well. And so I'm trying to get 4-H alumni, current 4-Hers. I've got some that are currently didn't want to talk because they've got the runny nose and stuff like that, and they said they sound funny, so they didn't really want to hop on here with me. So I was just kind of making the rounds and seeing who else I could grab and see how many of these I could get done before they shut it down. So
hopefully they don't shut this down. I mean, we got to stay working somehow, and online right now is the best way to go. I don't know if you've seen any of the 4-H live stuff that's going on right now that Blake and Cassandra have been working on. But that's some pretty cool stuff that's going on every day or so at 3:30 is 4-H live, and they're reaching like 12,000 people through those 4-H live sessions that they're having. This gives us an opportunity, unfortunate as it may seem, to try new things. It's forcing us to try new things, new ways to get data out and information out, new ways to communicate, new ways to program. And some of them are pretty exciting. Some of them are going to work, not all of them. But I think that not only is the university going to have a new face when all this is over, but I think 4-H is going to have a new face. We're, like I say, we're moving into uncharted waters, and there's some cool stuff coming down the pipe. I hate that we were forced into it, making some of these things happen, but the end results, like I say, some pretty cool stuff coming.
It's going to be one of those that, and I saw a perfect meme on Facebook, and older guy sitting talking to his grandpa, and he's like, "Did I ever tell you about the great TP crisis of 2020?" And, well, Grandpa, what were you doing? Well, I was sharing memes and stuff like that. Well, I also think it'll be a good change in direction of 4-H and stuff like that. And I saw when I was watching those Facebook Lives, there was a lot of people from out of state that were watching it that just enjoyed the programming as well.
Yes. Uh, People in Canada are watching it. Almost all the states are represented on there. So it's pretty cool stuff. And, it was just one of those, hey, we need to keep programming going and see what happens with this. And I think Blake and Cassandra realized that, this might have been a little bigger undertaking than we were planning for, but it's working really well for them.
Absolutely.
I think it's something that more of us need to be involved in it and help spread it around even further.
Yeah, and I just shared the link to make sure it got on our Facebook page. Is the Ty's on there doing identification to look like a pig's right now, so I shared that. I was only 30 minutes behind on schedule, but that'll also be on there that they can watch even after he's no longer alive. So that'll give them some more options. My biggest thing has been that I've been thinking about is how do we capture the people who are not on Facebook and not on the internet, because we do have some of those out there that for whatever reason choices, or they just don't have the connectivity to get online to have these resources. How can we reach them and do that stuff? And that's what I because I can email stuff, but I don't know, is it going to be as well received?
Right. And email is great, but if you've got somebody that's not connected, and we do have some, you talk about it. I live in a pretty rural area, and I've mentioned it that there's 3 people in the house working remotely, and I had to have another internet service put in because the one that I had wouldn't handle the load of 3 people having to work remote. High-speed internet is not a great option for me. And I've got a lot of people in there. My neighbors just down the road, they don't have internet access because what they can get isn't any better than just having a cell phone. And then, you get people on the other side, the other neighbors that live 3 miles away, they've got great internet access. So we have people in very remote areas, and it's an issue in the state that, maybe this will help us get those members and those families that need connectivity and high-speed internet, where, companies realize that, hey, this is a very underserved portion of our population. Let's get something going. I know that's a big thing for Marshall Stewart is to get the rural broadband initiative going, and the same way with the governor is get this rural broadband out there. And it's showing now how bad we need it.
And that's what Marshall said on Friday. He didn't say I told you so, but he said, this is the reason behind the push, for that. And I agree wholeheartedly. It's surprising because actually what I have here at home, and I live in Union Star, so that's a town of 433 people. Now, Jim, when I graduated, we had 9 kids in the class. And a co-op out of Savannah, United Co-op, I think is what it is. It's called United Fiber. They have fiber, and that's what they've been laying down. And Union Star came up with 80 signatures is what they needed to make it worth their time. And they have been hitting, small towns like this making it, and then they've been hitting the country and rural people as well. So I think they're making great strides, and I think it's going to take a co-op like people are just going to have to invest in the product that they want as well.
Right. Well, when I talk about neighbors, I've got a neighbor that's a quarter of a mile away, but I can't see their house. The nearest neighbor that I can see their house from where I'm at is almost 7 miles to the nearest house that I can see. Like I said, I've got neighbors that are a lot closer than that, but on a fiber network or a copper network, there's a restriction of service by the length of feet that a wire can be. There's so many feet that a wire can run before the service gets where it's not feasible anymore. My driveway is 2,800 feet long. So from the nearest public road to my house is 2,800 feet of copper wire. They're not going to run fiber back my driveway for just me. So that's the kind of things that we're facing, and I'm not alone. I realize that. I look at a friend of mine that lives down the road from me. He's the only house on about an 8-mile stretch of road. They're not going to run fiber for him.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. He lives in the river bottoms, and he's the only house between Wilton and Easley. I know those two towns don't mean much to most people because Wilton is, 18 and Easley's 6. But, that's part of it. The other way, there's nothing for several miles the other direction on the road. So it's just part of, we choose to live here, so we have to pay the consequences.
I got you beat. The town of Oak has 3 people. They took the sign down after 3 because there's only 2 that live there now. So
yeah. Well, the chickens in Wilton outnumber the people. So
that's a pretty good one. Oh, you got anything
and
else,
I see
Jim?
the other, I look. I really don't. It's been a great chat, and I think that I've got some folks that you need to talk to. We can talk when we get offline about some other folks that you need to talk to and get on these so that you can see what's going on.
Hey, I'm open to club leaders, 4-H members, alumni, whatever we can do with Missouri 4-H. Let's connect some people. Let's get some conversations going, a little normalcy, and just have I can sit and talk. I got a gift of gab, so.
I do too.
All righty. Well, I will end this recording, and then I'll catch up with you here in a second.
All right.